So today we're going to add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers, and we're going to start with fractions. So in the most basic form, the steps for adding and subtracting fractions is to first make sure that your fractions have the least common denominator, so you may need to rewrite them. Then you just add or subtract the numerators. The denominator stays the same when we're adding and subtracting fractions. And then just make sure your final answer is in simplest form. So here are a couple examples of some fractions that we're adding or subtracting. So in the first one, we have common denominators of 4, so we're just going to add the numerators, and the denominator stays the same. It's already in simplest form. Just like that one, this one also has common denominators, so we just subtract the numerators, in this case 5 minus 3, and we get 2 over 8, which we need to simplify to 1/4. So here's a couple examples that do not have common denominators, so we have to take that step first and rewrite them. So in this case, when we have 2 over 5 plus 1 over 3, we have to get a common denominator. The least common denominator in this case is 15. So I did 5 times 3 to get 15, so I need to do 2 times 3 to get 6. Over here, I did 3 times 5 to get 15, 1 times 5 to get 5. Then we just follow the rest of the rules. Our denominators stay the same. We add our numerators, so we get 11 over 15. In the next example, they don't have common denominators, so we need to get them to be common. In this case, all I need to do is multiply 6 times 2 to get a common denominator of 12. Since I'm multiplying 6 times 2, I have to do the same to that numerator to get 10. So once you rewrite them, you follow your steps. Numerators are going to be subtracted here. We're going to keep our denominator, and we get 1 over 12. So that should be a bit of a review. Those steps are the same steps we take when we are adding or subtracting mixed numbers. The only difference here is that we have to also add or subtract the whole number part of our mixed numbers. So here are a couple examples. Following those steps, we want to make sure we have common denominators. In the first example, we can see they both have a denominator of 10. So we're just going to add the numerators. The denominator stays the same. And then we add or subtract, in this case, add our whole numbers. And then we just need to make sure that we simplify in the end. So almost the exact same steps, just adding in, taking care of the whole numbers. Over here with the subtraction problem, we have common denominators, so we just need to subtract the numerators, keep the denominator the same, and then subtract the whole numbers. Our answer is already in simplest form, so we're done with that one. So there are some other cases that make this a little more complicated. So it could be that there are not common denominators, so we follow the same steps we took when they were just fractions, and we make sure they're common denominators. So I could either change this 9 to an 18, or I can just reduce this fraction, which I'm going to do, to match the denominator of 9. So if I divide 2 and 18 by 2, I get 1/9. Now I have common denominators. So I follow the rest of the steps. I'm going to add my numerators, keep the denominator the same, and then add my whole numbers. So I'll get 21 and 6 over 9, and then simplify that to 21 and 2/3. Over here, I do not have common denominators in my subtraction problem, so I'm going to first rewrite them, then follow the steps, subtracting my numerators, get 7 over 12, subtracting my whole numbers, and getting 2. So here are a couple more other varieties of ways that things you need to do here to get problems ready for you to subtract or add mixed numbers. So in this case, I don't have a fraction. I just have a whole number of 9, but I'm subtracting 2 and 1/5. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to first rewrite that 9 as 8 and 5 over 5. So let's think about that for a second. Why can I do that? Well, 8 and 5 over 5 is the same as 9, because any number over itself as a fraction is just a whole, is 1. So 8 and 1 is 9. So I just rewrote it so that I had a fractional part of it. I chose 5 over 5 so that it matched my denominator that I have to have over here anyway. Since I need common denominators, it makes sense to already write that as a denominator of 5. So once I've done that, I'm just going to follow my steps. I'm going to subtract my numerators. I'll get 4 over 5, and then subtract my whole numbers and make sure that I have a simplified fraction, which I do. I'm going to follow the same steps over here. So I don't have common denominators, so I'm going to make this one the same as the one above. So I know 2 times 4 is 8. So I'm going to make that 4 over 8. Then I get to this realization here that I can't subtract 4 from 3 without getting a negative number. So I need to do some rewriting here. So I'm going to use the same thinking that I did over here, and I'm going to look at 6 as 5 and 8 over 8. Remember, that's the same as 6. I just rewrote one of the whole numbers as the fraction 8 over 8. What I have to remember, though, is I still have this 3 over 8, too. So all together, I have 5 and 11 over 8. So I combined these two together to get the total 11 over 8. Now I can do my subtraction. 11 minus 4, and then I have to subtract my whole numbers. So I get 7 over 8. My fraction, 2 is my whole number, so 2 and 7/8. All right, let's try some of these on our own. So I want you to write this one out, pause your video, try to work it out, and then check back with the answer. Okay, if you did this one correct, you would see we needed some common denominators. Then we just need to do our addition and simplify our fraction. Go ahead and pause the video after you write this one down and work this one out. Come back, check your answer. So again, I need to find common denominators, but I come across that problem here where I can't subtract 6 from 5. So I need to rewrite the 7 as 6 and 15 over 15. Again, I chose 15 so that we would have common denominators. And then all together, so I have to put these two fractions together before I get subtract. So I end up with 20 over 15. Then I can do my subtraction, just make sure my answer is simplified, which it is. And the last problem on your own, go ahead and pause the video, work it out, and check back to see if you got it correct. So in this case, I see here I need to rewrite this 20 as 19 and 8 over 8. Remember, that's the same as 20 because this is a whole. Now I can do my subtraction, and I get a fraction lowest term. So 4, 5 over 8. And that's the lesson for today.